Hello and welcome. I am Gregory Lewis and this is your next Pilates wheel session here on Facebook Live. As always, before we get started, please be sure you've checked in with your healthcare provider before you begin this or any workout routine. Good morning. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. Today's workout is called Hip Strength and Mobility. Now, I like to give that disclaimer. Anytime I'm talking about a specific body part or a specific area of the body, here in the Pilates tradition, we are working the whole body with everything we do. However, we're going to bring special focus and attention today to the hips. This huge meeting place in the body is so important. I could take this whole session just to talk about it without even getting into a workout, but I know we're here to actually work out, so I won't talk about it too much. However, what I will say is that this is such a crucial area of the body, and it's a place where we hold a lot of tension. To me, true strength, and this goes along with the Pilates tradition, true strength comes from being able to move well in a specific area or joint. In our hips, think about this. Structurally, if we're looking at muscles and bones, which is essentially what we do in Pilates, we're looking at the muscular system in the body, and we're looking at our skeletal system, our bone structure. So looking at bones, the hips are comprised of your pelvis, your pelvic bone, and you could say your femurs, the thigh bones that come into the socket, the ball of the ball and socket. We could also say that part of the hip structure is the low portion of the spine. The vertebrae of our spine ultimately come down to the sacrum, the upside down triangle bone. That is the tip of that bone is what we call our tailbone, or our coccyx. So we think about the spine coming into the pelvis, it locks into the pelvis itself, and we have those thigh bones coming in. Muscularly, there is so much going on in there. We have a lot of deeper interior muscles that need attention and focus, and we will give those some time today. But let's just think larger muscles for right now. Our quad muscles on the front that run into our hips. Those quads are going to be part of the conversation of hip work. Our glutes, our butt cheeks, the gluteus maximus. And then we can't forget the other two glutes, our glute medius and minimus, which are your side hip muscles. So when we're talking about our glutes, we're talking about those butt cheeks, but we're actually talking about more, the back of the hips into the side. So we're going to make sure we get some lateral movement in to address those glutes. And then inside of there, deep to those larger muscles, are a lot of smaller fine tuners that need attention as well, and we will give those attention. Finally, inner thigh muscles. Now we know, and especially if you've been working out with me doing these videos, you know how important those inner thigh muscles are to the creation of the powerhouse. And lastly, talking about the anatomy and the structure, we know that we work from the powerhouse of the body, that term that Joseph Pilates gave us. And we know now that everything we've just talked about, that hip structure muscularly, any muscle involved in the hips is a part of that powerhouse. So we need strength, we need stability, but we also need mobility. We need to be able to move. And if we take it out of the conversation of muscles and bones and the physical stuff, if we think about the body on an energetic level, and more in today's society, it's become undeniable. We can't just talk about the body's energy as this woo-woo out there thing. We are energy. We are vibration. And on an energetic level, the hips are a very important part of our body because they tend to be the site in the body where we hold on to long-term stress. I said this before and I'll say it quickly again. Think about the places in your body that you hold on to stress and tension. The day-to-day stress, work stress, things you have to deal with logistically, day-to-day stress lives what? Up in the neck and shoulders. After a long day or a stressful day at work, we're right here. But long-term stress, stuff that's built up over years, down here in the hips, that's where that lives. So by working this system today, maybe we'll let go of some of that stress, some of that long-term tension that hangs out in the hips and keeps us locked in. We'll find some big movements, and we'll find some strong focused movements. And even if we're doing an exercise that looks like anything we might do in any other kind of workout, we'll bring focus and attention to what's going on in this part of the body. So what do you say? Let's do it. We've got props today. 2 blue bands. They could be yellow bands, but if you're working this system and working strong in the hips, it is smart to stay with the blue bands if you can. We have a red band for later. We'll be doing some standing lateral hip work. 2 foot loops, of course, and 2 handles. What I'd like you to do is take the red band and the foot loops and place those off to the side. We'll get to those in a little bit. But first, we're going to come to the wheel, take it up to high axle. Make sure it's good and locked in. And then we'll hook up our blue bands with the handles run down them. And once we're into position, we're going to start by getting the whole system moving. And as we move the whole system, we'll feel what we feel, notice what we notice in the hip area. Okay. Sitting up, I've got my arches on the bar of the wheel, hip distance apart. I'm respecting now just the natural turnout of the feet. Now this is an important thing to think about. If we're talking about hip health, think about your thigh bones in the socket. We don't live parallel, we're not built that way. And we don't live in deep rotation. We're not built that way either. We are built to go into rotation when we're sitting, right? But in our day-to-day life, this is parallel. This is a good way to work sometime. But this isn't structurally how we're built. We're also not built for deep, deep turnout like this, like you'd see often in classical ballet. We live somewhere in that gray area. So with your feet underneath your hips, think about just the natural bit of rotation. Now that will be a little bit different for each body, and it'll be a little bit different for men versus women. Women do tend to have a wider turnout because women's pelvises are shaped a little bit different than men because of the fact that women give birth and men don't. But however, find just a little bit of natural rotation and take that idea with you as you approach your bar. Let's sit up tall with that little bit of natural rotation. And we're going completely out to a long body on the floor. Elbows are bent, the arms will straighten out. Take an inhale tall. Think of your tailbone pointing straight down. And then as you exhale, reach your tailbone underneath you toward the wheel itself and uncurl through your whole spine. While you're here, take an inhale. And exhale, chin to chest. The knees bend, the hips flex, the elbows bend, you come back up. Take a tall inhale. We'll do that 4 more times and inhale at the bottom. Exhale, roll it up. 4. Inhale at the top. Exhale, 3. Inhale at the bottom. Exhale, 3 back up. And think about as we move, what's going on in your hips. Your pelvis, your tail is tucking, so your pelvis is rolling. And on the way back up, your pelvis is maybe what we'd call untucking. And 2 more. Reach into your legs. And roll it all the way back up. And one more time. And roll it all the way back up. And this time, sit up nice and tall. I want you to think about getting your spine taller. With each pump of the legs, we're going to start moving the legs. By the way, super important muscles, my bad, that we did not mention in part of this hip work, the hamstrings, right? The back of the thigh, the muscles that run up the back of the thigh and connect you into your pelvis. Hamstrings, super, super, super important. Now let's sit up tall. Pull your elbows back and down, keep an open chest. And now think of squeezing your seat to reach the legs out for 10 and 9. And every time the legs go out, can you get taller in your spine? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now keep those legs long and start to roll all the way down. Tuck that tail. Ooh, get a deep tuck right there. That feels good. And then take it all the way down ultimately. And fold your head and chest up. Now you're going to bend the elbows as the wheel comes toward you. And let's get ready for a round of footwork. If you want to keep your head and chest up to start so you can monitor that wheel, that's a good idea. And we want to really make sure that both ends of the wheel are moving at the same rate so that we know we're working the body uniformly, especially in those hips. Now the hips are a place where we will see most clearly imbalances that are in our bodies because of how we live our lives in our day-to-day, the way we carry things, maybe the way we hold our children, the way we sleep, the way we stand. There's a ton of imbalance that's common in the hips. And as you work the wheel, trying to feel them move equally, we're trying to iron out those imbalances. Take it for 2. And for 1, feel those feet really wrapped around the bar, and then let your head go down if you had it up. Now I want you to take your toes to the bar, maintain a hip distance position, fold your head and chest back up. You've got a little elbow grease going. Now with those toes wrapping around the bar, your heels are lightly lifted, not all the way up, just a slight lift. And drive through the toes and the balls of the feet as you find that opposing scoop in the belly. And take it for 9. And depending on what kind of surface you're on, you may feel how the toes have to really actively hold the bar. Being on carpet is going to be more of a challenge. A little bit less of a challenge if you're on a smoother surface. Don't lose that bar. 2 and 1. And bring it back in. Then take it down. Now let's go into the heel pockets. So the very back of the arch, where the arch meets the heel. Try to peel your toes toward you. You can fold the head and chest back up again. Give it a little more elbow grease. And now reach to those heels for 10 and 9. Take your time with this one. And 8, 7. In this foot position, can you feel the glute max, your butt cheek muscle, more readily firing? And 4, 3, 2, and 1. And now take it back down to your toes. Put your head down for a breath. And fold back up. Now reach straight back out. Straighten your legs. Straighten your arms out. So for some of us, there won't be a huge range of motion because it depends on the size of your feet. But I want you to flex your feet, bringing the wheel toward you, and then push your toes away. We're moving in the ankles, and every time the toes reach away, I want you to feel that coming from up here in your hips. And you squeeze your seat. And you take it for 6 and 5. We're working the calves, but we're controlling from the center of the body, from that powerhouse. And 3, 2, and 1. Now bend the knees and bring it all the way back in. And now let's get set for the 100 to get the system really warmed up. Stay on your toes today, but bring your feet together until your heels are connected and your toes are just slightly apart. Again, just the natural rotation, not a huge turnout. Find the center of your bar. And head and chest up. Let's reach out into almost completely straight legs, but we're not locking out those knees. And keep those legs out. I want you to inhale your head down and give me 5 upper abdominal curls to get ready. Feel the shoulder blades pulling down the back. Feel the bands in your hands pulling on your shoulder blades as you come up for 5. Push your ribs deeper into the mat for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Palms down, like your knuckles are scraping the wheels down there, pumping. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 30. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 40. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 50. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 60. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 70. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 80. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 90. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 100. Flip the palms up, bend the knees, bend the elbows, and come up tall. Good, nicely done. Now what I'd like us to do next, since we're focusing on the hips, is take the handles off of your bands, but leave your bands attached to the wheel and trade out your bands for your foot loops. Now we're going on to the back in just a moment to get in a leg series. But before we do so, I'd like you to stand up tall on your knees right here. And I'll meet you there in just a moment after I take a quick check on the feet. I see that we're looking good. Now we're about to go on the back and hold that bar behind us to go into leg series. So since this is the first use of our shoulders in an overhead way, let's start to open the shoulder girdle up a little bit. So stand with your hips right over your knees. Feel those glutes squeezing, hips forward, belly button up. I want you to reach out like you're about to hug someone, hug yourself. And stretch that, good. And open, and switch the layering of your arms every time. We're going 5 and 5, the other layering, 4. Hold tight in the belly, try not to rock your body, 3. Think about stabilizing, and 2, and 1, and 1. And then take one hand to your rib cage, feel your ribs hold in. The other arm is reaching back, circling open to 10, 9, 8, 7. Can you make this a glute exercise? Your butt cheeks should be squeezing to keep your body quieter. And 3, 2, and 1. Take this hand over the ribs now and circle the other arm back. 10, 9, 8. Feel if your shoulders feel different. This shoulder, for me, always, it's a little bit tighter. That's why it's really important for me to even it out when I'm doing my Pilates work. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We go back to the first arm and we reverse up and forward. And in this direction, I want you to feel your shoulder blade lifting up and your shoulder actually going up into the ear like bad Pilates, and then feel the shoulder slide back down in the back. So we're mobilizing not just the arm and shoulder itself, but the shoulder blade on the back, the scapula. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. And the other arm reverses. 10, 9. Now as you do this, notice if you're twisting with the movement. Turn on your powerhouse, firm up, and try not to twist against the movement. And feel that shoulder blade going up and down. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then let's stabilize those shoulder blades again before we go down to the floor. I want you to reach back like you're trying to scrape the floor behind your feet. Firm up that tush. Think about the pelvis. It's tailbone down, hip points up. So we've got glutes pulling the tail down, abdominals pulling the belly button up. And we're going to reach back and pulse 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hold it back there. Feel the muscles around the back of your armpits. Feel open across the chest. Look right, look left, look right and left again. One more time. And then look forward and release. A little chest expansion there. All right, now we're taking it onto the back officially. Once we're down, we'll get those loops on our feet. And after doing that shoulder mobility stuff we just did, when you reach back, it should feel a lot better, a lot more open than if we had just put you right into it. Okay, think about the back of your hips being flat to the mat. For right now, push your low back into the mat. Heels connected. And we're going right into the frog. So we have this turnout in the thighs. And as we reach out, think about where you end up. You should end up with your big toes slightly apart, not crazy turnout like this. Just natural. And then bend the knees, opening your knees only as wide as your shoulders. Don't bend open out wide. We want to do what's smart for the hips. And we've got 9 more frogs. 8, 7, 6. Think of it as a game of what's moving versus what's not. Or what should be moving versus what should not. I want you to feel your thigh bones moving in the hip socket, but the pelvis itself trying not to move. 3, 2, and 1. Now first, hinge your legs up as high as you can, and let's continue that game of what's moving versus what's not. Can you push your low back completely into the mat? Feel your belly anchoring that down. Feel the position that your pelvis is in, with your low back down but your tailbone still on the mat. As we reach the legs forward from our hamstrings, can you keep the low back stationary and the pelvis on the exhale? You're not letting your pelvis tip with the leg movement. Inhale up. Try that 4 more times. It should be the feeling of not so much pushing your legs as actually pulling yourself away from underneath your own legs. Now for 2. And for 1. And then back out on that diagonal. I want you to take it into small circles. Think of the size of a dinner plate. 7. Again, what's moving, what's not. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. For this round, can you reverse those? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And heels together, bring that frog back home. All right, let's reach out one more time. Hinge back up. Now we go from those small circles. Those small circles, we're working a lot of those deep fine-tuning muscles. Now let's make a bigger movement. Think of addressing the larger, more exterior muscles 5 times total in each direction. Big scoops of the circle. As you go into these bigger movements, that pelvis wants to move a lot more, so really lock it down. 2, and 1. Last 5. Now reversing. Reach into your straps. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And bring a frog back home. All right. Hook your neck on the back of the bar as you get those bands off momentarily. I want you to reach your legs out front. Reach your arms up and roll yourself up. All right, keep those bands on your wheel. Put your wheel off to the side momentarily. I want you to take 5 more of those roll-ups, just as their own exercise, just with your own body, to really wash through the spine. Now you can say, and it's very true, strong hips start with the spine. Strong anything starts with the spine. We know that spinal mobility, having access to your spine, is an important first step in finding strength and access anywhere else in your body because of how central that spine is to everything else. Like the strong trunk of a tree, so that the leaves and the branches can be strong and lively. So reach your arms up. Let's mobilize that spine. And inhale, lift the head and chest up. Exhale, scoop the belly out, stretch forward. Your pelvis is ultimately tipping forward. You're feeling that stretch in your hamstrings, and roll it back. And take it down, reaching into your heels. 4 more. Inhale and exhale. Shoulders in the back. And 3. 2. Last one. Let's reach forward and up on this one. Point the toes. Let the feet come apart. Give me 10 counts down. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, roll yourself up. And now come back to the wheel. With the bands, you're on your hands and knees. We're going into a round of rollouts. The bands give us some assistance so that we can take it further and work really strong. Knees are under the hips, shoulders are out over the hands. You're on high axle, so it's going to be a little more of a challenge to hold that roundness. Now the spine is trying to be really stable with a tucked tail, strong hips as we take it out for 10 and bring it back in. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hold it out for 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring it back home. Nicely done. All right, we're going to pop the bands off. Take it down to low axle. And place your bands off to the side. And we will come back to those one more time. So leave the loops on the bands. You're going to lay down on your back as we take it into a bridging sequence. I'm going to take one more quality check on the feet. All right, one of my favorites, hopefully one of your favorites too. Sweet torture. Feet are hip distance apart, arch is on the bar. We're taking it into a stable bridge, talking about hips, major hip exercise. However, I want you to think about the deep core muscle, your deep abdominals first and foremost. The initiating feeling in this exercise is the belly button pulling down so then the tail can scoop underneath. When we make stronger use of our deep abdominals, we make stronger use of our hip muscles. Don't forget the arms along the way. Press those shoulders down into the mat, and you've got 8 bridges curling up. On the way down, try not to let the wheel get away from you. That's a major challenge. 7. And 6. 5. Stay strong. 4. 3, 2, and 1. Hold it right there for 10, 9, 8, 7. Fight for that wheel. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Roll it all the way down to your tail. Beautiful. All right, we're heading into the last 15 minutes of our work. So let's stay strong and let's keep it moving. Keep that wheel parked right there. I want you to take it down onto one side. We're going into a round of clam series. Now, having said what we said about hip rotation, we are now going into deep rotation as we work this. However, we need to find what's moving versus what's not. With your feet together, put your feet in line with your back. Now tuck your tail. It should almost feel like you're up here in a fetal position. When you're in fetal position, your tailbone is really tucked. Try to keep that sense of tuck as you now put those feet back in line with your back. Take your free hand, put it right down in front of your belly. There is a magic button in the floor right there. When you press it, it's going to help motor your hip. Getting into our rotators, press the feet together and reach the top knee forward in order to open up. Now look, what's not moving? The actual pelvic bone. What is moving? The thigh bone, the femur. If the pelvic bone moves back, if you roll back like this, we're missing the exercise entirely, and instead we're just doing something that's not good for your low back. So be super aware. You can also take a hand here as you're getting this started. Let this hand monitor. It's not going to control, but it's going to monitor whether or not your pelvis is moving. As you rotate, do you feel that the hip bone itself is staying right where it is? Pull the belly in, and if you can, put that hand back down, and 8, 7, 6, and if you're coordinating it the way I'm asking you to, it feels like a lot of work right away. 3. This is one of those things, like so much of what we do, it can be total waste of your time if you're not working it right. And 1, or it can be super meaningful. That was external rotation. Now we go to internal rotation. Put your knees together. Again, stabilize. Why don't you take that hand back to the pelvis and rotate internally. Feel the thigh bone twisting in, the pelvis not being pulled forward with it. Keep that hip back there. And rotate for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now put your feet back together. Bring both feet up to hip height. So this thigh bone is starting from a place of internal rotation and moving powerfully back out to external rotation. Now let's try putting both hands behind the head. Keep those feet together and rotate 10, 9, all the way down. Make sure you get a full range of motion. We're working mobility and strength, so don't come halfway down. Give me the whole movement. 7, and feel that gravity is not returning it. You are returning it. You're in charge. It's your workout. 3, gravity is strong enough. 2, and 1. Now from here, 4-part movement. Same rotation. Feel it come from the hips. You're going to squeeze that tush, reach that leg out to a diagonal. You're still rotated. Now bend the knee. You're still rotated out, and then rotate in. Ready? Let's do that 5 times in a row. We rotate, kick, feet together, take it down. 4, and down. Connect the feet back together every time. 3, and down. 2, and down. 1, and down. If you were really working that with stability where you needed it, big burn right there. We're going to stretch that out after we finish these exercises. So for the meantime, flip it around. I'm going to turn my back to the camera so that you can see what's going on the back side. And remember how important it is. And hopefully you will not pay attention to my bed head. All right. Free hand can monitor the hip or go down in front of the belly. The bottoms of your feet are together. The movement we're doing right now, you may often see people doing a movement like this in the gym with a resistance band around their thighs. Your resistance band is right here in your feet. You're keeping the feet tight together. You're creating that same sense of resistance. Now tuck that tail. Hips are stable. I could put a skewer right through one side of the hip. It should go straight down into the floor, out the other side of the hip. And rotate 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good stable pelvis. Try to keep it there as we now rotate internally. 10, 9, connect the feet every time. 8, squeeze those knees. Your resistance is now between your knees, like you're holding on to a quarter. Don't drop it. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both feet together. Start with that top thigh internally rotated. Your feet are up at the height of your top hip. Both hands behind the head. Give me a little more length. And if you want to work this more advanced, you can also lift the rib cage off of the floor. Feel that length in your spine. Rotate 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. 4-part movement. Rotate. Reach from that glute with your thigh rotated. Bring it back together. The thigh is still rotated. And then close it down. Ready? 5. Out and down. 4. Out. Together and down. 3. And down. Take it. 2. And down. 1. And down. Lower the whole thing. Feel that burn. Good. All right. Now, take it back to your bands. Pop those bad boys back on. Down to the final 8 minutes of our work, so we're going to keep it flowing. First, on low axle, put those bands on. And get up nice and tall, hips over your knees, shoulders over the band. I want you to flex both feet. Can you keep that same tuck from the last exercise and now add a backward leg movement? We're reaching through one heel at a time. Lift your right knee off the floor, reach back for 10. Tap the knee. 9. Work the tuck to feel the glute. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and switch right away. Try to float the knee off, just barely off the floor without twisting in your hips. Stay centered. 10, 9, 8. We're kickstarting that glute max. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go back to the first leg. Reach back one time. Now point the toes, and from that glute, we're pulsing off the floor. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness. Reach the other leg back. Point the toes. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back in. I'm going to back up a little bit. And while we've got the bar set up like this, take it out to 10 more rollouts. You've got that low axle, so really scrape the floor. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring it in. You're going to pop the wheel up to high axle. We've got one more round of leg movements on your back. Then we're going to change the axle again, get you up on your feet for standing hip work, and then we'll take the last few minutes of the session to get some nice deep stretching in the hips. All right? Take it onto the back. We've got beats and then scissors. And beats will be addressing those other two glutes, the outside hip muscles. Start on the in of your frog. Send that frog out. And open your feet as wide as the wheel itself. And beat. So I want you to push apart, pull together. 9, 8. Natural rotation. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring a frog back home. Second round of beats. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it in. And third and final round, a little different. Now I want you to flex your feet, parallel your feet. We're taking the turnout out of your legs so we really feel those side glutes. Focus strong. We got 10. Reach to the heels. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. From here, point the toes. Go back to natural rotation. One leg up, one leg down. Run it out with scissors. 10. Big movement. 9. If you can get one heel all the way to the floor, that's great. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 1. Put those heels together. Bring your frog back home. Pop the bands off. Roll yourself up. Take the bands off entirely. We are done with these for the rest of the session. And now grab your red band, one of your handles, take it back down to low axle. By the way, I don't think I've said the word breath or breathe once this session. That should be inherent. That should be innate in your workout. That should be a given. So make sure you are breathing deeply, breathing into those hips. All right, we've got the band on one end. Run the handle through. Hook the other end of the band to the other end of the bar. Come up onto your feet. In this first exercise, standing side split, we really strongly address the inner thighs. All right, stand up tall, feet in line, spine in a line that runs right down the center of your legs, and we take it out. Let's lift the arm right away. Feel those inner thighs zippering up. 5. As the crown of the head reaches up. And take it for 4. And 3. 2. 1. And bend at the hips, bend at the knees, everywhere. Chest up high. Speed skaters. 10, 9, 8, 7. Outer hips, those other glutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stand up tall. Step it over or turn around. Straight legs again. Find that line through the body on a slight diagonal and out for 5. Ooh, zipper it up. Think of it as down through the tailbone, up through the belly button. 3, 2, 1. Down to a squatted position and speed skaters. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stand it up tall. Awesome work. Let's take that band off. And place the wheel off to the side. Take a tall seated position. First, let's stretch out the back of the hip, tree style. Grab one leg and stretch for 3, 2, and 1. Walk the hands to the ankle and flex 3, 2, and 1. And then tuck that tail, roll back. Send the other leg out and take a split stretch. Breathe into it. Maybe the head can go down. Chin to chest. Rock it back up. Sit up tall. Switch the leg. Stretch for 3, 2, and 1. Grab the ankle and flex 3, 2, and 1. Tuck that tail, roll it back. Lengthen the other leg out, get your split stretch. Maybe the head goes back to the floor. Chin to chest, lift it up, and release that leg. And then to finish, take it all the way down onto your back. First, bring it into a butterfly stretch just for a couple breaths, opening up those inner thighs. Then bring it back together, one ankle across the other thigh. Let's take a lying figure 4 stretch. Down on the back. Use the right elbow to press the right thigh away, if that measures out well in your body. And release it and switch it. Head and chest comes up. As you're getting set up, you reach through, interlace the fingers. Now that left elbow is pressing the left thigh away. Settle the shoulders into the back. Don't actually curl the hip off the mat. The hip has to stay down in order to access the stretch. Good, then take it down. Let that knee cross over. Give yourself a quick twist for the low back. Switch it to the other side. Any of these stretches on your own, you could hang on to longer, but for the sake of time, they're just momentary stretches here. Bring your knees in tight. Give yourself a big hug. Let that go as you rock up. Let's build our way up to standing from a child's pose. Tuck those toes, heels together, lengthen out to your plank. Feel your entire system in control right here. Feel how your hips integrate into the system of your powerhouse. Lift the belly to lift those hips. Walk it in 4, 3, 2, and 1. Anchor down into your heels and separate your feet. Soften your knees, soften your hips, and roll it up. And as you come to the top, give those glutes one last squeeze to shine open on the front. And stand up tall. Take an inhale where you are. And exhale, step forward back into your day. Nice work, guys. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you again soon. At the end of the week, I'll be back with you for another session on the Pilates wheel. Onward and upward.